Hello and welcome to MotorInc First. Shumi is back from Jaipur and he's been riding a Hero. I had expected he would have had ridden several Heroes, or at least one Hero in specific, but it's not the one that I expected. So Shumi,
What are you doing here?
so this is not about the Mavrick. I honestly thought we were going to be talking about the Mavrick,
But the Maverick's not out yet.
but they were like they were buzzing around over there like in a flock.
They parked 4 bikes. So a lot of people did exhaust note. They did the walk around. And Hero guys rode it around the stage during the event itself. But that's it. The Maverick rides will happen in the middle of February. And therefore, the stories from us at least will probably come at the end of February or something like that.
If things go quickly.
Yeah. So the Maverick was not the bike of the day. It was the Xtreme 125R.
Is that what you had expected when you went in there?
I had no expectations because this Hero World event doesn't happen very often. It's not completely clear what this event is supposed to be. My interpretation is Hero setting the agenda for the next year or something like that is what I think the plan is, which should mean that there will be another Hero World next year when they will show up something more. But then the presentation doesn't sort of talk to that. So it's like it has a slide called sustainability, but it doesn't actually say what they're doing about it. So it's a kind of a weird event, in the middle of which there were 2 motorcycles that they spoke about specifically, actually 3. The first one what they spoke about is the Karizma special edition, which is to mark the 100th birth anniversary of Dr. Brijmohan Lal, who obviously was at the start of the Hero thing about 40 years ago precisely. So they'll sell 100 of those in June. It's a Karizma with some amount of tuning and lots of special parts on it.
Okay, so it's not a concept. It will go on sale.
No, it will go on sale. There'll be 100 units on sale to mark the 100 years of Dr.
Can we quickly run through what it has?
I have no idea what it has.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Look, if it's not, bookings are not open, the prices are not out, I don't see a point in discussing that bike just yet. It looked nice in that grey color that they've painted it. The chassis is anodized red in color. They've got CNC machine rear sets. It's got an Acropovich, obviously. What else have they done? We'll find out when that bike is closer to the time when somebody can go and book it and buy it and ride it and stuff.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
And what was
the second bike that they spoke about was the Mavrick, which is obviously Hero's version of the X440 platform. They formatted it sort of like a slightly modern, slightly retro kind of motorcycle, although we know that that engine is a hardcore retro engine. 17-inch front wheel, so it will have a very different handling package. It has a different handlebar setup, so you'll sit slightly differently. What does it actually mean? We'll figure it out when we ride it.
Okay, so that brings us down to the third motorcycle.
And the third motorcycle, and the one that we rode on that day, very, very briefly, I must say, is the Hero Xtreme 125R, which is supposed to be a premium 125.
Just to be clear, Hero, the Xtreme family has existed with different Xtremes over the years.
Correct.
But there was no 125 up till now, right?
No, the first Xtreme was the one with mumps. Remember the weird indicators that look like...
Oh, yeah. Oh,
right? So after the mumps 150, then there's been a series of them. And today, I think it's the Xtreme 164V.
Right.
And then below that now the Xtreme 125R.
Right.
What we need to know about this motorcycle is that they said it's an all-new engine.
Okay.
In all the communication. Autocar story says that it began as a Glamour 125 engine, and along the way, the amount of changes that they had to do amounts to a brand new engine. So it's not technically a brand new engine. In either case, it's about 11 odd bhp, about 11 odd Newton meters of torque, and that puts it more or less in the same zone as the TVS Raider, which is the target for this motorcycle in terms of, if you're trying to understand what they tried to build, you should look at the TVS Raider. It's doing quite well now. And when we rode the Raider, you remember it was a very nice bike to ride. That's what Hero is going for roughly in terms of product positioning and segment and all of those things. So therefore, the price is just under ₹100,000 for the single channel ABS version, which is not available on the other sub 125s because the law doesn't require it. But Hero said we will have a single channel ABS model, which also means that the rear is drum. Then there is about ₹4,500 less than that is the entry level 125R, which is a front disc and a rear drum, but no ABS at all.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. So the frame is reasonably new, and you've got Showa tuned suspension at the front and the back. The front suspension appears to be exactly the same as the 160R, but with tuning for the 125 setup. In terms of weight, for context, it's about 10 kilos and a bit heavier than the Raider. Oh, really? So performance will be similar, but the TVS is a smaller and lighter bike, and the Hero definitely feels larger and a little bit heftier than that.
Oh,
which I can see as a pro and a con. So
Right.
Pro, you'll feel like you're riding something more substantial. Con, it'll probably be slightly slower than the Raider, and the Raider will feel slightly sportier as a result, etc. In terms of design, it's a bit of a hodgepodge.
Okay.
So it presents as a large motorcycle, but the tank extensions on the sides are just massive. And when you sit on it, they don't look too bad. But when you look at the bike, you wonder why they had to be so large. And similarly, the headlight slopes away to the projector LED, sort of like the Z900 used to. But they've put DRLs on top of the slope, which looks kind of odd. So it's a really busy motorcycle.
Okay.
Towards the back, it simplifies itself a little bit, and that part looks quite nice and sporty. But do you look at it and say, wow, that is good looking? No, I think it'll be like, wow, they've done a lot of work on that.
Who's this bike really for? I mean,
so I did ask why this bike. And I'm not very happy to hear that initially the gap between the 125s and the 150s was narrowing down to almost 10,000 rupees. So there were commuter 125s and then there were the 150cc class motorcycles. Now the gap has become 25,000 rupees. So we will put a motorcycle into it is more or less the explanation I got, which is opportunistic in some way, and maybe it is good for Hero's business. But is this the way to produce a motorcycle that will solve an issue for a customer? I don't know that this is the best approach.
I'm drawing a parallel to, let's say, the 125 Duke, right? Which also came in, it made the Duke family more accessible. They sold more. But did it take Duke in the right direction? I don't know.
No, I don't think so. No.
I don't know if this is a great price point. And
in fact, the 125 Duke, since you brought it up, is so out of the Duke consideration set for me that I don't think I've said the word Duke 125 in the last 5 or 6 years or something.
I actually, while saying that, I was just thinking, am I saying it right? Is that it just feels wrong, kind of, you know?
Yeah. No, so it doesn't make any sense. Where globally, when there are license laws or tax laws that allow the 125 to have a substantial price advantage, those countries, those bikes make some sense. Here, it's not solving anything. So in the same way, is this bike a bad commuter? No, it's not. I thoroughly enjoyed riding it in some ways.
Okay.
But is there a logical reason why there was a reason for Hero to make this motorcycle? The only explanation I got is the difference in price from the current 125s to the current 150s. And to me, that's a weak place to start. But I think they were clear that they wanted to build a premium 125, which is why the single channel ABS version, which is why it looks large, which is why the meters are the same as the 160R, more or less, brought to this motorcycle, which means it has a rev counter and 2 trip meters, all of those kind of things. All the illumination is LED. The tires are a size larger than everything else in the segment, at least. Rear, I think, is 2 sizes larger than everything else in the segment. So it does present as a large motorcycle. And when I rode it, unfortunately, only at the handling track and only a few laps.
So how much time did you get on the bike?
I don't know, 8 minutes?
Wow.
Okay, let's be generous, 9 minutes.
Alrighty then.
Right? So, no, Hero events generally can become chaotic, especially in events like this, because the agenda is the presentation for Hero World. And this is a sort of side event. And therefore, the side event's priority is low. So, and there was some amount of confusion because...
But this bike has gone on sale.
This bike has gone on sale, and Ross Branch was there, Wafi was there. So, they were also celebrating their success at the Dakar. And that event got delayed, and then that affected the test ride. So, it was a bit of a mess. The fact that we got 9 minutes out of that successfully, I'm okay.
Okay.
What it did promise us is the idea that it's a sporty, fun motorcycle with all the qualities of a 125. So it still does some 65 kilometers per liter or something like that. So it has those attributes. The engine is a pretty refined engine.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. As you get very close to the red line, there is some amount of harshness and vibration in there. But for me, most people going, 80 max, I don't think you're going to suffer on refinement at all. It's nice, quiet. There's torque, so you open the throttle, and what happened is, as usual, Hero doesn't like to do batches. So normally what a manufacturer will do is they'll try and club bunches of journalists who ride at a similar pace together, and the idea is that you don't interrupt somebody else's flow because you all more or less are going at the same pace, and that helps. Right. But Hero doesn't like to do this. Even at the Xtreme 160R, the batches that went out to ride the Xtreme were more or less first come first serve basis, and that causes quite a bit of mess because it's a narrow track and it's a short track, and there were groups of 8 people going out together, and some of the slow guys were in the front, some of the fast guys were in the back, and that basically means that somebody or the other is definitely getting interrupted. Like the slow guy can't go into a corner because the fast guy is coming through. The fast guys can't go fast because the slow guy is ahead and he's not allowing them to go or whatever. So Rishad and I, Autocars Rishad, we were together at the end of that group. And basically, we just go 5-6 corners and then back off and just sort of sit. But in the process of sitting, we discovered there's not a lot of gear changing required.
And just to be clear, sorry, this is a 5-speed gearbox?
5-speed gearbox.
And all down?
No, normal. One down.
One
all
down?
up. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not a commuter in that sense. Yeah. So Rishad and I would back off a lot and let the group go ahead, then find 5-6 empty corners and push it a little bit. In the process, I discovered that it's not like you keep coming down to first and second gear because you're going so slowly. It's okay. So what you're going 8 or 9 kmph, but you want to pull away in second. Yes, okay, no stress. If you're down to 15-16 kmph, you want to be in third or fourth, and you want to pull away fourth, some struggle, third, not a problem. So it does have torque at the bottom. It feels like a tractable machine. On the street, I expect not too many gear changes, and you'll make progress quite naturally.
For me, interestingly, you said that the refinement was good, and that has been. I mean, I haven't ridden the 4V 160.
See, the 125 now has a counterbalancer, so the refinement is to be expected because that's one of the big things that they did. They put a silent cam chain to reduce the noise level. So they do want to present the idea of effective 125 with economy, refinement, and the basic qualities. What I think they've also nailed is the chassis, because going into the corners at various speeds, some of the faster corners, slower corners, it feels happy. It feels nice, eager, and it's a lightweight motorcycle comparatively speaking. So you don't put a lot of effort into it, and it feels nice.
But that's been something we've gotten used to with Heroes, right? The chassis and suspension is something
always good. It felt good. Is it absorptive suspension or stiff suspension, etc.? I don't know. I didn't hit a single real bump on this 9-minute journey of ours. So we'll find out all of these things. But the promise that Hero makes is that it will be a fun little 125 that will have segment best performance is what they're saying, but I'm saying at least matching what's the top of the segment. It will have segment equaling economy, and they're all doing 65-ish. It will also do 65-ish. It does have handling that feels interesting. So does the Raider. Is it better than the Raider? We'll have to find out when we test the motorcycle.
But the size of it makes it feel like a step up.
But the size does make it feel like a step up. They've also got a split seat instead of a single seat. So it does. So it has all of those little check boxes where clear agenda is it should feel like a mini 150 rather than an upgraded 125, and to that extent, I think mostly they've done a good job.
Okay. And what about, I mean, I know, quality, plastics, stuff
seemed
like that.
Okay. But you remember when we went to the 160R 4V ride, when we went to the Karizma ride, rode those bikes, they seemed okay. And when they came here for testing, the bikes seemed quite a bit worse. So we'll see what happens when the bike comes.
But first impressions, they seem okay.
First impressions, they seem okay. Reliability wise, we've had to get our second Karizma because the first one had a small issue, a small failure which needed to be replaced. The Xtreme 4V came and then it went back because it was in a state that we couldn't really test, and that it had been through a few test cycles, and by then it was not studio worthy, etc. So we sent it back, and we still haven't done that story yet. So we know what Hero shows at these events and what shows up as a test bike. There can be a difference. So it seems like everything is okay, but we'll wait for the test bike to come.
Okay.
That's it.
Price?
I told you it's just under $1 lakh for the single channel ABS, and another 4.5 below that is for the non-ABS.
Sorry, but how does that compare with Raider? Any
similar prices? I think the Raider is a little bit more expensive. It'll be 2,000-3,000 rupees more expensive, something like that. And I think there's also the Bajaj Pulsar NS 125 in this class, which I think is the most powerful of these bikes, but also the heaviest of these bikes.
What do you mean you think?
Okay, I know.
I thought this is like, okay, is it NS or N or?
No, I do get confused. Luckily, the NS is there, N is there. There are currently no P series Pulsars at all.
125.
No, there aren't any P. They retired the P150 also. And currently there's no F series Pulsars either because the F250 was also sent out of production. So it's N and NS for now. Bajaj is, this Pulsar line is very difficult to decipher. And then there are the RSs and whatever else.
We'll leave that rabbit hole right now.
Yeah. So, so the Xtreme designation says we wanted to build something sporty. The 125R sets the agenda for what kind of motorcycle this is. And I think by and large, what they set out to do, they have done. I think if they were clearer about why this motorcycle needs to be part of Hero's lineup, I think this product would have been clearer in terms of what attributes it definitely needs to have. Despite which, reasonably good bike created.
Okay. So the way I'm thinking about it is, it's the more sportier Raider. I mean, if I have to think what Raider was meant to be.
I don't know if it is sportier than the Raider, but I think it is TVS's Raider is equaled by Hero's Xtreme. They're the same proposition from two different brands.
More premium?
Larger.
Okay.
See, the Raider has the 5-inch TFT with the what did they say? 99 connectivity features. All of that drama this bike doesn't have.
Okay.
It has basic Bluetooth, which will give you call controls and music controls and stuff.
Okay.
So I suppose that depends on how you define what is premium. Right. So to me, what TVS makes as commuters, the Raider is definitely a step up. And in the exact same way, what Hero makes as commuters, the Xtreme is also a step up.
Okay.
Is it better or worse than the Raider? Time will tell. We'll have to see.
Okay.
And remember that the Raider also has its own hiccups. Remember, I think the TVS's history, the Raider was the first bike where they missed their own deadline. We remember they showed us the bike with the regular meters and they said the 5-inch TFT is coming, and then that thing just disappeared and then showed up something 8 or 10 months later, whether it was supposed to be a 3-month thing or something. So since then, if you look, TVS has had delays. Today, 3-4 years later, Raider is finally doing good numbers, and there is clearly a traction for that motorcycle in the market, and you do see them on the road. And I'm happy for those riders because I do think that they made a really, really nice motorcycle. I'm hoping the Xtreme is able to give people an alternative to the Raider that does some of those things really well too.
Okay.
That's it.
I'm not doing a summary for this.
No, this was the summary video. No, so that's the story of the Xtreme 125R. If we haven't answered any questions, please do leave us a comment. It is really this short because this is more or less what happened. And doing a MotorInc First after 9 minutes, it feels a little wrong, but it's the best that we can do for the moment. So that's what it is.
All right. Thank you so much for watching. If you do have any questions, hold on to them until we get to ride the Xtreme 125R further so that we can actually answer them. Yeah. Thanks so much for watching.